Days of Our Lives shock. Marlena and Steve find John dead in Estonia. A painful and heart-wrenching reunion. A sense of foreboding hangs in the air as Marlena Evans and Steve Johnson embark on a harrowing journey, following a trail that will lead them to a tragic and devastating discovery. After weeks of searching and chasing one cryptic clue after another, the grim reality is about to hit them with full force. John Black is gone. The man they have loved, trusted, and fought beside for years has met a cruel and untimely fate. As the episode unfolds on March 18th, the two longtime allies finally get the breakthrough they've been waiting for. Shane Donovan, always a trusted source for intelligence, manages to point them toward a critical piece of information: John's last known location in Estonia. For weeks, John's absence had been a growing concern. His manager had lost track of him, and every lead seemed to result in a dead end. But now, Marlena and Steve have something concrete, and they waste no time catching a flight overseas. Once they arrive in Estonia, they find themselves navigating an unfamiliar terrain filled with danger and uncertainty. The streets are lined with shadows of the unknown, every corner a potential trap. They know John's path must have been filled with obstacles, twists, and turns, but they remain determined to retrace his steps and uncover what really happened. The most logical theory is that John has been kidnapped. Was he taken by a ruthless enemy from his past, someone looking for revenge? Or did he fall into the clutches of a new adversary, one who saw him as a threat? The possibilities are endless, but one thing is certain: John would never simply disappear without trying to contact Marlena or his family. Something terrible has happened, and the urgency to find him grows stronger with each passing second. As Steve and Marlena dig deeper, they begin to piece together the puzzle. There are whispers in the city about a man who fits John's description, someone who had been seen risking his life for another. Could it be that John, ever the hero, stepped into danger willingly? Perhaps he sacrificed himself to save an innocent life as he had done so many times before. The idea haunts them, but it also strengthens their resolve. If John put himself in harm's way, it was because he believed it was the right thing to do. However, even as hope lingers in their hearts, a gnawing dread settles over them. The more they search, the darker the trail becomes. Clues lead them to an abandoned safe house on the outskirts of the city, a place shrouded in secrecy. As they cautiously step inside, the air is thick with tension. And then, the moment they have feared the most arrives. John's lifeless body lies before them. Time seems to stand still as Marlena's world shatters in an instant. The love of her life, her partner in every sense of the word, is gone. Steve, usually the one to keep his emotions in check, is visibly shaken. The pain is unbearable, suffocating, almost unreal. The man who had survived so much, countless missions, near-death experiences, and unimaginable adversities, has met a fate neither of them could have prepared for. Marlena collapses to her knees, unable to process the finality of it all. This was not how their story was supposed to end. She had spent so many nights dreaming of their reunion, picturing the moment she would wrap her arms around him again and tell him how much she loved him. Instead, she is left clutching his cold hand, sobbing as reality crashes down upon her. Steve, his heart heavy with grief, kneels beside her, placing a comforting yet sorrowful hand on her shoulder. He had fought alongside John for years. They had been brothers in arms, confidants, partners in crime. And now he must do the unthinkable. He must bring his best friend home in a body bag. The devastating news will soon make its way back to Salem, where John's loved ones will be forced to come to terms with his death. Marlena, despite her agony, will have to summon the strength to return home and break the news to their family and friends. A funeral will be held, where memories of John's heroism, kindness, and unwavering loyalty will be shared. The town of Salem will mourn, but the pain of this loss will be felt most deeply by those who knew him best. This was supposed to be a mission to bring John back to safety. Instead, it has turned into a heartbreaking farewell. As the days pass, questions will linger. What exactly happened in John's final moments? Did he fight until the very end? Was there any way he could have been saved? And most importantly, will Marlena and Steve be able to move forward after experiencing such a tremendous loss? For now, all that remains is grief, sorrow, and the haunting reality that John Black's story has come to an end. But in the world of Days of Our Lives, is anything ever truly final? On Tuesday episode, Steve and Marlena arrive in Washington, D.C. on a mission to find John. The tension was thick in the air as Steve and Marlena arrived in Washington, D.C., checking into their hotel with a singular focus, bringing John home. Sitting in the modest hotel room, they went over their plan, each weighing the risks they were about to take. Steve, ever the strategist, was already working his connections to gain access to the ISA headquarters. If anyone had the means to slip into the secured building unnoticed, it was Steve Johnson. Shane Donovan, however, was not going to make it easy for them. A secret Shane doesn't want to share in his office at the ISA. Shane Donovan was preoccupied. His phone buzzed repeatedly with calls from Teresa, but he ignored them, his attention instead on a more pressing matter. He was deep in conversation, speaking in hushed tones about the need for secrecy when suddenly, the door burst open. Steve and Marlena stormed in, their faces set with determination. Shane looked up, his expression darkening. "I suppose I should be surprised that you managed to get past security. But then again, I know who I'm dealing with," he quipped dryly, his voice laced with exasperation. Marlena wasted no time. She took a seat across from Shane, her eyes unwavering as she demanded, "Where is John?" Shane exhaled sharply, already knowing this confrontation was inevitable. "I told you before, Marlena, I can't disclose mission details." Steve, standing beside her, folded his arms. "That's not good enough. We're not asking for mission details. We just need to know where he was last seen." Shane rubbed his forehead. "Even if I wanted to tell you, I don't have much information. He was working under strict blackout conditions." Marlena's voice softened, but the desperation in it was impossible to ignore. "Shane, please. This isn't just a mission. This is John's life. My life. If you won't do it for protocol, do it for me. We just want to bring him home." Shane sighed, the weight of her plea pressing down on him. After a long pause, he relented. "John's handler lost contact with him in Estonia. That's all I know." The words hit Marlena like a ton of bricks. Estonia, a foreign country, thousands of miles away, where John was alone and missing. Her mind reeled with worst-case scenarios, but she pushed them aside. There was no time for fear, only action. Roman tries to offer comfort, but worries linger. Meanwhile, in Salem, Roman sat at a table, pen in hand, leaving a note for Johnny. He felt guilty for not being around more, knowing how much the boy had been dealing with. "Johnny, I'm sorry for leaving you hanging around your mother, but I want you to know, I love you and I'm here whenever you need to talk. Uncle Roman." With that done, he turned his attention to Kayla, who was deep in the logistics of planning the hospital fundraiser. She barely looked up as he sat down across from her. "Kayla, you sure you're okay? You've got a lot on your plate." She sighed, adjusting the papers in front of her. "I just need to keep busy. If I focus on this, I don't have to sit around worrying about John." Roman nodded knowingly. But what if Steve and Marlena do get the answers they're looking for? What if they find John, but it's already too late? Kayla's hands stilled, her expression darkening. "Don't say that. I can't even bear the thought of losing him. But what worries me just as much is how Steve keeps putting himself in harm's way. Sooner or later, life is going to catch up with him." Before Roman could respond, Stephanie entered the room, her expression one of concern. "Everything okay?" she asked, looking between her uncle and mother. Before Kayla could answer, Philip came in right behind her, looking just as uneasy. Philip looked at Roman. "Is my mother here?" Roman shook his head. "Not at the moment." Philip then turned to Stephanie. "Do you have a second to talk?" She nodded, and the two walked off, leaving Roman and Kayla alone again. Roman watched them go, then turned back to his sister with a knowing look. "Stephanie sure has a lot going on these days." Kayla sighed. "Tell me about it." Roman smirked slightly. "Wherever Alex Kyriakis goes, there's bound to be drama." Kayla let out a small laugh, but it quickly faded. "Roman, I know what you're doing. You're trying to distract me from John." Roman didn't deny it. "Yeah, I am. But at least Steve and Marlena are on it." If there's anyone who can bring John back, it's them. Kayla nodded, but deep down, worry gnawed at her. Because even though she believed in Steve and Marlena's ability to find John, she also knew that sometimes, no matter how hard you fight, things don't go the way you hope. And that was the part that truly terrified her.